Hello guys, welcome to the 13th video of our Python playlist, and in this video we will discuss dictionaries and we will discuss the concepts of functions. So the functions are basically used when we have a big project and we divide that project into some small chunks of work. Like what we do, for example, we have to register, we have to provide login page, and we have to add products. For example, we have to remove products. So for that, for every task we make functions. Basically the benefit of making function is that we are more specific to the domain, and the second benefit of function is that, for example, if one function is causing an error, the whole system will not crash. For example, add product has an error inside. Maybe there is an exceptional error and the code may crash. So if that function is not being called, if that function is not being used, then the program will not crash, right? So for such scenarios, we use functions, and we should use functions in every program. Previously, what we do, we basically write print statements over here and such things, but now we have to define a function. So let me define the function. For that, we have to write def printing. For example, this is a function and this is the function name, colon, and we have to write def, which means that we are defining a function over here, the name of the function, empty parenthesis, and then colon. So inside this, we can print anything. This is what we do coding, right? For example, let's say that x is equal to 7 and y is equal to 10. So we should print x and y. So if I want to run this over here, so printing brackets are back close, enter, and you guys can see that 7 and 10 is printed over here. All right. So now the problem is that, for example, let me make a function over here. The name of the function is menu, and let me ask the user to enter a choice. So choice is equal to, and here we will write input, enter this for addition, and I should change this to 3 single quotes and 3 single quotes over here, and then I should write enter minus for subtraction. So now what we have to do, that if the choice equals plus, then we should print a plus b, and if the choice equals minus, then we should print a minus b. So the problem is that let me create two functions separately for addition. All right, so let me define another function, def subtract, and here I will add colon, and let me comment this. All right, now I just add the code over here, and this code is to be replaced with add. This is how we call a function. Basically, in the parentheses, we have function parameters, the value that we will be using in that function. But the problem is that this a and b is defined in the function menu, and the scope of a and b is limited to the function menu. It cannot be accessed outside. This is known as the local variable. These both are the local variables. So if I try to run this and I write many over here, so plus, so you guys can see name A is not defined. The name A is not defined. So what we have to do if we want to access those, so there are two possibilities. One is that I provide two parameters, for example n1 and n2 over here, and here I just write a comma b, and I have to replace a with n1 and b with n2 now. So if I run this and write many over here, plus, so you guys can see 9 is printed now. And the other option is, so let me copy all of this and let me comment also. So now what I have to do, I have to write a is equal to 6 over here and b is equal to 5 over here. Now the thing is that how I should use these variables. If I change this back to the original one, and instead of writing this, I write a plus b. So if I run this, now what will happen? Menu plus. The answer is 11. But if we see over here, yeah. So if we see over here, the problem is that the value of A is 6 and the value of B is 5 over here. The sum is 11. But here, I changed those values, that A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 3. So the thing is that if we are using the global variables, we have to write global A and global B, so that to tell that we are using the global variables. And now if I will run this again and write plus over here, so now you can see that the answer is 9. So basically now this A and B is not a local variable, these are the global variables. So if I change these values of, for example, 13 and I run this, so what will happen? Plus, and you guys can see now the sum is 16. So this is the basic concept of function. So the important thing is that we have to basically divide a big program to smaller sub programs and or sub functions, so or modules. So the thing is that we have to make sure that how to pass the values. We have to give the name of a variable in the function parameter. So now the other thing is that we have two type of modules basically. One is a function and the other is a procedure. Procedure basically it is a function which does not return anything, and a function basically returns something. So the returned value can be used later. For example, if I want that the sum of A and B must be multiplied with the number 3. So, and then the answer should be printed. So what should we do? That we should write return A plus B over here. And I can, let me take a variable x is equal to add, and now what will happen? Basically you can say that the return statement of the function add will be replaced with this add. So a plus b will be replaced with add if I talk in a very decent or very easiest way. So if I multiply x is equal to x multiply equal 3 and then print x, so what will happen? That 16 will be multiplied with 3 and then it will be printed. So basically the answer, in simple words, the answer of the add function is used in the menu function. So if I run this, write menu plus, so you guys can see that the answer is 48. So in the previous video, I told that we will be discussing the dictionaries and an example of dictionary. So now what we are going to do is that using the dictionaries, we will be asking a student to enter his or her ID, the name, the age, and the person will specifically be identified with the help of the ID. And we will be entering the data using the functions, or we will be updating the data using functions. So what should we do? Basically, the first thing is that we should create a menu first. So def menu, and in that menu, I have to make a variable choice which is equal to integer input, enter, there should be 3 single quotes, enter 1 for adding a student, then enter 2 for removing a student, enter 3 for updating record of a student, and enter any other number to exit. So this will be the menu. If I run this and I write menu over here, so you guys can see that enter 1 for adding a student, enter 1 for removing a student, and enter 3 for updating the record of a student. So we should have our dictionary and we should name it as data. So as I told you that in the dictionary, what we will be having? We will be having each student's ID, the student's name, the student's age, and we can also, let's say, that we add the grade of the student. So the thing is that if the choice, and we have to use a while loop to make sure that it can continue. Okay, what can continue? That a user can add a data, then a user can remove the data. We will be asking every time that if a person wants to add a data of another student, right? So while choice is lesser than 4 and choice is greater than equal to 1, then what should happen? Now, if choice equal 1, then we should call the add student function. Elif choice equal to then we should call the remove the rem student function, and elif choice equal 3, then we should call the update student function. And here it should be, this is fine. And then later on, we will be asking for the choice again, that if a person wants to continue or not. So after the loop, then we will say print goodbye. Let me show you what will be happening. As I didn't create the functions right now, as I didn't write the code of the functions, so let me comment this line, and I should write print choice only, choice 1, so that it can be understandable that is the code is working fine or not. Basically, what is the reason of writing this code? That after every iteration, that after every input, it will ask the user whether he wants to update or remove or add that data or not. If it doesn't, then we would exit. So if I run this, I didn't make the update student function, so that's why I have to comment this also. Now if I run this and I type menu, so enter 1 for adding a student, I have entered 1. You guys can see choice 1 is printed, then 3, choice 3 is printed, then 2, choice 2 is printed, and now if I enter 4, you guys can see that goodbye is printed. So this means that our menu function is working very fine. Now let me make a function which is add student. So what we have to do, def add student. All right, in the function, firstly we have to use the global variable, which is global dictionary, which is data. Now what we will do, we will basically ask the student or a person to enter the ID. So what we will do, data, and here we will write ID equal to input, enter your ID. I am not basically making sure that what should be the pattern of the ID. So in this case, what is happening, that we are just getting the data inside the dictionary. So now what we have to do is that we will be asking the user to enter the name and, for example, grade. So right now what I am going to do is that I am taking a dictionary X, and in that dictionary I will be asking the user, for example, name is equal to input, enter your name, and grade is equal to input, enter your grade. So the thing is that we have to make sure that the grade is valid. So for that, let me use the validation check. So while length of grade is not equal to 1, and grade, here I have to write a bracket, grade is lesser than single quotes A, or grade greater than single quotes E, assuming that the grades are basically between A and E. So what should be happen? Basically, if the length of the grade is, for example, our user had written ABC, so that is an invalid grade. So in that case, we will be here I have write or, because if this is the case, then it is invalid, and if this is the case, then it is also invalid. So then we will ask the user to write a valid grade. Enter a valid grade. So what will be happening? That X, and here I will be writing name. Here I have to change something. I am writing I_D over here. I will tell you the reason later. Basically, I am using currently here the concept of nested dictionary. What will happen? A person is defined with the help of a dictionary. Okay, the identifier will be the ID. The identifier will be the ID. So X name will be equal to the name entered, and X grade will be equal to the grade entered. So after all, what I have to do, that data I_D equal to X. Data I_D equal to X. And now let me uncomment this and let me print the print data. Now let me run this. So what will happen? Enter 1 for adding the student. Enter your ID. Let's say I write, for example, A101. Now it is asking you to enter the name. Let me write John. And the grade, let's say I entered G. So it is saying that enter valid grade. So now let me write B grade. So now you can see that the ID is A101 and the details is that name is John and the grade is B. What is the problem here? That why I changed, let me close this, why I change data I_D, no, data ID is equal to ID. For example, no, this was a code that I wrote input this line. So what will happen, that if I do this and then I use the same code, so what would have, like this one, so what would have happened, that the printed dictionary was supposed to be then, so what would have happened, that here ID would have been written and this was supposed to be the answer. So that would make it incorrect. Alright, so now what we have to do, that let me run the code again, and this time I will be adding another student data of another student. Okay, so menu 1, and here what will be happening, enter your ID. I should enter A101 again. Previously I entered that. Name is John and the grade is A, for example. So now you guys can see that A101 name John, grade A. I want to add another student, and let me write A106. So name is Simon, grade is C. So now you guys can see that firstly the name was John, then the name was Simon. And let me press 4 now, and we will exit. I must use another function. I must have another function, enter 4 for printing the data. Printing of data. This video will be a little longer. So enter 4 for printing of data, and here I should write lesser than 5, and here I should write ls choice equal 4, then print data, and the rest is fine. So now let we use the remove student. So what we have to do, we will just be asking the student to enter his or her ID. So we will write def rem student, and we will just be asking the ID. And as I told you that we have a function which is keys, global data. So what we have to do, we have to find the keys first. So let me say x is equal to data dot keys. And now if I underscore d in x, then what should happen, that we should data dot pop, and here we will just write x, I underscore d for them, sorry for that, I underscore d. So now let me print the data again. Okay, so let me run this, and I hope that I have removed the comments. Here I have to write print choice 3. And here I have to write print choice 4. And let me comment this again. So if I run this now, so what will happen? We should run menu, enter 1 for adding a student, right? I enter ID A101, John A1, A102, Smith, C grade, and now I have to remove a student, and I will write A101. So if you guys can see now, this student John has been removed from the data. So this is almost in object-oriented programming we used to remove the objects, right? In the next following videos, we will also discuss object-oriented programming with the help of Python. But somewhat we are implementing that we have an ID and we have a name and we have a grade. It does not cover the whole object-oriented programming, but some things can be used. Some help can be taken. All right. Now we should continue to the update student function. So what we have to do, we have to copy the same code And let me write else statement over here. Else print id not found. And let me use the update function. Let me write the update function now. So UPD student. So now we have to update data. ID will not be updated. ID is not allowed to be updated. Now what we will do, we will just write x is equal to data, and here I will just write ID. What will be the benefit of this code? That now x is this x. The x is now this x. And now we will ask the user to enter choice. Choice is equal to integer input. Let me copy this code. No, I should write it again. Integer input. Enter one for updating name, and here should be 3 single quotes. Enter 2 for updating the grade. So while choice is lesser than 1 or choice greater than 2, then what should happen? That if choice equal 1, then then we will just write this over here and this line over here. Where's the code here? And here, if it is else choice equal 2, then we will copy this up till here. And this while loop should start over here and this should come over here. And then we just have to copy this till here, and then afterwards we will write data I underscore d is equal to x again. So what is happening? That we will search a key inside the keys portion. The key is basically representing the unique IDs. If that ID is found, then a user will be asked that whether he or she wants to update the name or update the grade. So if the user will say that he or she wants to update the grade, then the user will be entering 2. So if the choice is 2, then we will ask the user to basically enter the grade, and we will verify it, and then we will update the dictionary from we basically assigned basically data was put equal to a dictionary x. That dictionary is being found from here by using this code, that the value of the ID is basically a dictionary. Na? In that dictionary, basically we have stored the name and the grade. So if I run this, and I should update this code over here that choice is this. Yeah, here is an error. What is the error? That if the user entered wrong ID, then this loop will run. Like if the user will enter numbers less than 1 or the numbers greater than 2, then this loop will run. So what we have to do, while choice is greater than equal to 1 and choice lesser than equal to 2, then what should happen? That this loop will run now. And now I have to print the data. So if I run the code now, I am entering just one record, menu 1 A101, name is John, grade is B. So now let me update the record, update the data. So for I search A101. Now I have to update. So I am going to update the name. I am pressing 1. I write Simon now. So now I don't want, let me update the grade also. So let me write 2 over here and let me write A and press 4. So now you guys can see that from John, it is Simon and the grade is A. So one thing that I forgot to update, that I didn't change this side. So the last thing that I have to print the data. So let me introduce a function with the name of the function is print data. And in the print data function, what I will be doing, that I will have a for loop. I will be using global data, and I will have for loop for x in data. What should happen? We should print the ID of the student is x, and then we will have another and then what we will do, that y is equal to data x, and then what we will do, that for a comma b in y dot items, what we have to do, we have to print that the comma, this a will be storing the key and b will be storing the value. So if I run this and I type menu over here, 1 and A101, the name is John and the grade is C, and I just want to print the data. So now you guys can see the ID of the student is A101, the name is John and the grade is C. So I hope you guys got the concept of function. This video was a very long video, but in this we got to know about the functions. We discussed an important project and we used dictionaries in that. In the object-oriented programming, when we will be discussing OOP, then we will also use the same example. So see you guys until the next video. Take care. Goodbye. Don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel.